there's a lot of concern about the democratic judicial reform that we want to move ahead with. But people think that it's going to result in a fissure that I don't think will last, because people will see at the end that Israel was a democracy, is a democracy, and will be even a stronger democracy after this democratic reform. There's a lot of tension right now, and I wish it wasn't so, but I'm quite confident that we'll get over this difficulty.
Wow, what a timely interview. As outraged protesters take to the streets of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is defending his judicial overhaul plan in a one-on-one with my next guest. Joining us now after his sit-down with Benjamin Netanyahu, Piers Morgan, the same Piers Morgan from Piers Morgan Uncensored, seen on Fox Nation. Piers, we now know no departing flights out of Israel. We know he fired the defense minister since your interview. Who is on his side with this move with the judicial branch?
Well, the answer, Brian, is not many people now. I mean, there are people in Israel who do support this plan. They do feel the judiciary and the Supreme Court in particular, which is the only form of check and balance they have, really, the Israeli government. They do feel it's moved too to the left, perhaps, and wants to control the government too much. It can overrule government decisions. But what Netanyahu, I think, has miscalculated here is that he is trying to yank that pendulum right the other way. And the people are rising up. And it's not just people on the left. It's people from all across the divide in Israel. You're talking about generals, you're talking about former Mossad heads. Right. You know, this is really across the board. They're coming out in gargantuan numbers. Nearly 10% of the entire population of Israel has been protesting in the last 2 days. Think about that. So it's been a remarkable uprising against this plan. My guess, Brian, is that Benjamin Netanyahu is a canny politician. You don't get to be elected 6 times and be the longest serving prime minister in Israel history without being smart. I think he's going to read the way the wind is blowing here, and he's going to probably pivot to, let's have a halt, let's think about this, let's talk. In fact, he gave a hint of that in the interview, where he said to me, you know, I don't want to go from one extreme to another. There's room for negotiation. Right.
So that's breaking news, Piers, right? You reached out to your source, and there could be a pause on this move. That should be underlined.
That is, there's word breaking just before I came on with you guys that he may have already had that conversation with the Biden administration, who are obviously very concerned about what appears to be this sort of threat to democracy in Israel. And they've been saying that publicly and privately. So my guess, again, I don't know, but my guess is that I think the mood music over there now is the only way to end this, is to put a pause on this and to recognize that the Israeli people, millions and millions of them, have said very loud and clearly, we do not want this threat to our democracy.
All right, so let's move on and talk about another big interview you had with Governor DeSantis, where you really talked about his run for presidency and the week that he had, and President Trump going after him big time on Saturday. Really was his #1 foe. But look at these polls that have just come out from the Public Opinion Survey Strategy. Now, in Monmouth, a national poll, it's Trump. But in Iowa, DeSantis leads 45-37, and a dead heat in New Hampshire. And overall, when the Republican Party was asked about approval rating in New Hampshire, he is out polling President Trump. What was your impression of Governor DeSantis? And knowing as well as you know Governor Trump, President Trump, Piers, how do you think he's going to do when they go head-to-head?
Well, it's a very interesting poll, isn't it? I mean, you could call it the Morgan bounce, Brian, couldn't you? Or I would. I think it's really interesting. I sat down with him for over an hour. I didn't know him before. Obviously, I know Donald Trump very well. And they couldn't be two more different people. You know, where Trump thrives on chaos and drama and unpredictability and being spontaneous and outrageous, DeSantis is none of those things. He seemed to me very focused, very organized, very data-led, doesn't like drama, likes things to be planned out, likes to get, as he put it, scores on the board. And you have to say that I think one of the reasons he's proving so popular is he's a winner. You know, you go back to the recent midterm elections, they weren't great for the Republicans. A lot of Donald Trump's big endorsement picks didn't win, didn't do well. Right. And there you had the big standout winner was Ron DeSantis, who had this thumping win in Florida, took a 30-odd thousand majority, turned it into 1.5 million. Right. I was down in Florida, obviously, for a few days interviewing him. And he's incredibly popular there, Brian, incredibly popular. So anyone who thinks this is over and that Trump has somehow swatted away this annoying bee. I don't think that is the case. I think DeSantis is going to come out soon and say he's running, and I think it's going to be one hell of a battle, and you're going to have a clear choice. The Republicans, do you want more drama and chaos and baggage, or do you want someone who's fresh, young, nearly half Trump's age, who doesn't have the baggage and believes in doing government a different way? Straightforward choice.
We haven't seen any Republican take on President Trump and have success. We'll see if Governor DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo or Mike Pence, probably on your target list, will have more success than that. And we'll find out about the latest court cases with the president. Piers Morgan, it's always great to talk to you about Piers Morgan. Also, we can go to your, and it's always great to go to your app and we watch more Piers Morgan interviews because you are uncensored. Piers, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.